What if your entire life wasn't about what happened to you, but how you choose to respond? That one idea might sound small, maybe even obvious, but it holds more power than most of us realize. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. And I know you've heard that quote before. Maybe it's on a poster in your office or buried somewhere in your Instagram feed, sandwiched in between a cat video and a smoothie bowl. But have you ever actually stopped to think about what that quote means? Because if that quote is true, and it is, it means you're not just living life. You're literally shaping it, moment by moment, reaction by reaction. So here's a question that's worth asking. Are you reacting to life or are you responding to it? Think about the last time something threw you off course. Maybe your day started fine, but then someone said something that got under your skin. Maybe your plans got canceled or your car wouldn't start, or even your phone lit up with a message you really didn't want to read. That thing that happened, that's the 10%. And it sucks. But what did you do next? That's the 90%. And that's where everything changes. Let's say two people go through the same exact setback, same circumstances, same frustration, but one of them finds a way to keep going, maybe even laugh about it. The other person spirals. They get stuck in a loop of negativity, blame, maybe even self-doubt. One situation, two completely different lives unfolding from it. And it's wild, because what that shows is that the event itself, the so-called problem, isn't the full story. It's how you interpret it, how you respond. That's the story you're actually living in. This idea, it didn't just come out of nowhere either. It's been around for a while. And it's often accredited to Charles Swindoll, who once said, "I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it." And so it is with you. And then he said something even more important. We are in charge of our attitudes. Just pause right there. We are in charge. That part is what really flips the script, because it means we don't have to live at the mercy of circumstances. We don't have to be tossed around by every day, every rude comment, every unexpected twist of life. It means the power's always been with you. But let's be honest. I know it doesn't always feel that way. These things can sometimes sound cheesy or easier said than done. And I know sometimes life hits hard. But when it does, the last thing you want to hear is someone telling you, look on the bright side. That's not what this is. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending everything's okay when it isn't. This is about reclaiming your power even when things are not okay. Let's go even deeper. When something happens, anything, really, your brain instantly kicks into gear to make sense of it. And this is automatic. It's natural. It's how humans are wired. You try to figure it out. Is this bad? Is this dangerous? Do I need to react? But here's where it gets interesting. Your interpretation of that event is where the emotion comes from, not the event itself. Really think about that for a second. It's not the traffic jam that makes you angry. It's what you tell yourself about the traffic jam. I'm going to be late. This always happens to me. People can't drive. It's those thoughts that create the emotional wave. And the thing is, those thoughts aren't always facts. They're just your version of the story. So what happens if you rewrite the story? Imagine instead of saying this ruins everything, you say, this gives me a moment to slow down. That one shift doesn't erase the event, but it changes your experience of it. It changes your day, maybe even your whole week. And the more you do it, the more you start to build this reflex of resilience, like emotional muscle memory. One of the most powerful examples of this comes from Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust. And I mean, we're talking about someone who lost everything, his family, his freedom, his future. But even in the middle of that horror, he wrote these words: everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Think about how deep that is. When everything else is stripped away, your environment, your possessions, your control, What's left is how you choose to face it, your mindset. That eternal choice, no one can take from you. No one. And if that's true in a concentration camp, it's definitely true when your phone dies or someone cuts you off in traffic. It doesn't mean you have to be superhuman. It doesn't mean you don't need to feel angry, sad, or even disappointed. You do. Those emotions are real and they matter. But what you do with those emotions, that's where your life is shaped. Not by the first emotion, but by the next choice. And here's the truth a lot of people don't want to hear. You can't always control the 10%. Life happens. Stuff will break. People will leave. Plans are going to fall apart. But that's just part of the ride. But that 90%, that's where your power lives. That's where your character gets built. That's where the story shifts. We see this over and over and over again. People who face incredible obstacles and still find a way to rise. Not because they're lucky, not because life handed them an easier path, but because they made a decision not to let the event define them. Look at like someone like Inky Johnson. You might not have heard of this player. He was on track for the NFL, top of his game, future locked in, and then one play changed everything. A tackle left his right arm paralyzed, and just like that, the dream he had worked for his whole life was gone. In that situation, most people would have crumbled, maybe even myself, but no one would have blamed him. But Inky didn't fold. He pivoted. He turned his pain into a mission. Today, he's a speaker, a mentor, and an inspiration to millions. Not because life went to plan, but because of how he responded when it didn't. And that's the 90% in action. And it begs the question, what are you going to do with your 90%? Because here's the thing, whether you realize it or not, you're choosing every single day. You're choosing how to respond when someone disrespects you. You're choosing what story you tell yourself when something goes wrong. You're choosing whether to stay stuck in the moment or to move forward. Even doing nothing is a choice. So maybe it's time to stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can I do with this? That shift alone can change everything. And look, I get it. This kind of mindset takes practice. It's not about waking up tomorrow and magically becoming a Zen master. It's just about noticing, catching yourself when you slip into blame or self-pity or frustration, and then saying, wait, there's another way I can respond to this. That pause, that awareness, that's where the transformation begins. You start realizing that every moment is a crossroad. You can take the road of reaction, which is automatic, or you can take the emotional, which is often destructive, or you can take the road response of intentional, grounded, and growth-focused thoughts. And with each conscious choice, you build a version of yourself that's just not surviving life, but creating it. And again, like I said, I know a lot of these things sound cheesy. They might even sound repetitive, but that doesn't dismiss their truth, nor their power, nor the sheer force of the message. You know, too often, a lot of us know people that they're just so quick to respond, to get angry, to go back and forth and bicker with people on social media and life and so on and so forth. Be calm. Take control of how you're reacting to things and watch how much peace comes into your life. Being calm no matter the situation is what's been like a big benefit for me, and it's what has allowed me to stay peaceful in most situations in my life. Once I was able to make that shift, life became 10 times better. And again, there's always that 10%, a sick relative or, just something very out of left field. That's life. But none of that changes the fact that how you react to any event at all is within your control. And if you can control these reactions, you start to control your life, your mood. Once your mood's in check, your health gets better and you just feel better as a person. All right. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes it's unfair and it's often chaotic. But within that chaos, you have one constant. That's you, your mindset, your attitude, and your response. The 10% may shape the setup, but the 90%, that's how the story plays out. So how are you going to write yours? Every single time something in life hits you out of left field, take time to pause, 5 seconds, and ask yourself, how am I going to react to this? And how you react to it will be how you write your story. So how are you going to write yours? If this message hit you in the heart, don't let it stop at just inspiration. Do something with it. Think about that one situation in your life right now that's been dragging you down. And we all have one. You know what it is. What would it look like to respond differently starting today? You don't always choose the story you're given, but you always choose the role you play in it. Let that be your power. Let that be your freedom. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, stay blessed, be humble, and keep going.